I will.
Shut. Oh, the people's out there. How you doing? I'm really not feeling this today. So we'll see how well all this works. But some days you just don't feel like it, you know?
Did you look into the SWAT? They call it a swastika.
I don't
Did you
care.
look into that?
No.
Prime rib and then just another little
Hoo-ah!
Hey,
Hoo-ah!
Dad.
Yeah.
You want to see the character I built? Look, I got a named Brawler.
You know what? They look the exact same. They all do.
But do I actually?
Oh! I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, that's a great one. So yesterday, there's this channel. When you don't have cable, there's a channel called Me TV Cartoons, and it's 50.7, and it's all they do is show like really old cartoons all day. And one of the things they show is the Super Friends. In yesterday's episode, there was the space rocket program, rocket to Mars program. And the quote, bad guy wanted to shut the program down because, you know, spending all those billions of dollars to go space and all that is foolish when we don't have enough food to feed people, and, you know, and this just doesn't do anything. So you have the Super Friends, the kids, the junior Super Friends, explain to him how, well, this actually creates a lot of jobs for people all over, and lots of science and medicine is figured out through the space program. And it's like, medicine? What medicine does the space program give us? But you think about the programming that shit was giving kids back in the day when they didn't have an internet. They didn't have another option other than what the system wanted you to see. And so what they're being told is that the bad guy, you're a bad guy if you don't support the waste of the space program and want people to eat. Like, just, that's so fucked up. That is. And this guy's building androids. I mean, it's it's like embarrassingly stupid how bad the Super Friends was. And you think, like, did they make that show to be bad? Is kind of like, that's the joke of it. It's so bad. Or is it serious? You know, they were making the best cartoon they could. You know, Robin's always like, holy everything. Holy doing a live video, Batman. Holy responding to that thing you just said, Batman. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. But see, I like watching stuff like that. Like, I like watching movies that are so bad they're good, cartoons that are so bad they're good, like old shit. Like, last thing I want to do is watch, like, some reality, you know, like, especially the cop stuff. You know, I've seen it personally with my wife how, like, she used to just hate cops. But now she hates people that, like, oppose cops. You know? The people like the First Amendment guys. And it's just, okay, I don't care. It's just an example. Doesn't matter. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody is going to come up to you and say that. I know you don't hate them. I know you don't hate them. That's what I just said.
No, I don't hate the guys doing the videos. I see that there is a need for it. I don't like it when they start instigating unnecessarily just for
I don't.
video.
Okay, whatever.
and I'm not all about Trumps now either.
Okay, I'll use somebody different then. Okay, some random person then. Some random person watches these shows about blue bloods and all this stuff, and you get this. They're instilling like it's programming. That's what it does. It stupid programming or stupid Google cars passed by my house. I mooned it. Hopefully it makes it online. There was a picture forever of me flipping it off. It was funny because you could see me in the picture of my house coming out like shitty faced, but then if you looked at the neighbor's house, you could see me flat out flipping it off. It was pretty funny. I think I used it as a screensaver or as a profile picture once. Yeah, I wish I still had that pic. That was funny.
I'm sure it's in there.
Maybe. But yeah, that shit's so weird. You mooned it. That's pretty interesting. And the Google car is passing by your house at 8 in the morning. How fucking weird is that? What is today? When the kids aren't at school, I have no idea what day. Friday. It's just so weird. I mean, I don't, when it comes to stuff like that, I get it. Like, I get the scary element of it. But it's also progress. It's also a part of things. And it's like chemtrails, right? Chemtrails aren't a bad technology. It's the people that use the chemtrails against us, the way they use them, that's bad. Being able to have it rain where there's a drought, being able to destroy hurricanes. I mean, it's interesting to me because, people have been trying to scare the population, their fellow Goyim, into seeing chemtrails and whatnot, and it's worked to some degree, but there's a lot of people that it just doesn't work on. They don't fall for the fear propaganda.
Do you know what Harissa is?
No, but the fuck, what was I talking about? I don't remember. Whatever. It's just it's propaganda. It's all propaganda. It's all designed to keep us stupid and complacent. And I don't remember what the point I was going to make was, but I'm sure the end of that point was it makes us stupid and complacent. But it's the idea of technology and shit. Like you can't, one of these days we're going to have robot arms and shit. One of these days we're going to have bionic people running around. And hey, from Europe. What's up, Europe? It's you can't fight that. We just have to figure out who's doing it. Who's executing all this shit against us. That's where even vaccines to some degree, right? Like clearly the chosen that get to the top get something. When was the last time you saw a politician die at 50? An actor or an actress just die at this really young age. I mean, Chadwick Boseman apparently had this stuff, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like they clearly give the highest ranking. I mean, Chadwick Boseman was a black guy, so that's not surprising. But they clearly give those at the top something that keeps them from getting sick. I mean, think about it too. Like all of those throughout the 80s and 90s, like the only famous person I ever knew that like died of AIDS was maybe like Arthur Ashe or Pedro from The Real World. You guys remember Pedro?
Oh my god, yes.
Elon Musk being in the shit house means bionic weapons. Elon Musk is a character. Elon Musk is just another presenter of the facts or of the narrative. And it's like so many of us truthers see it, but we see what they want us to see, right? Like, people forget to realize that even in the truther world, everything you know is given to you. So people just don't, like my brother-in-law yesterday was talking about how China has this huge gap in the blah, 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 because for such a long time they would only let the people have one baby and this, that, and the other. And now there's this, and it's like, yeah, maybe. I tend to think, everything that you and I know about China. Oh, Julie, don't bother. Don't worry. These are Israeli bots. So the trolls are just Israeli bots. And if you look up something called Team Jorge, it'll answer all of your questions. At the end of the day, this feed is about how do we cut off Israel and then use that money to form proper pedo hunters so we can kill pedos. Like, who's gonna be opposed to that? Who's gonna actually, like, what real life human beings are gonna be like, ooh, I want to interfere with the guy that thinks we should kill pedos and cut off Israel? Nobody but Jays and pedos. So don't waste your time arguing with stupid bots in the comments. It's just stupid. And they're Israeli, they're Jays because they're so stupid. They actually think what they're doing benefits them. It makes me look bad. And they just don't realize that everything they do and say, validates and furthers the idea that Andy cares what you think, apparently. At the end of the day, if you don't oppose Israel, if you don't look at this whole J conspiracy, you're just a dumb sheep. And it's okay. There's a lot of you. There really is a lot of you. And you can probably find a lot of comfort in that. Find a lot of comfort in like-minded people saying the same dumb shit. This is the epitome of drug addiction. Yep. And you have to ask yourself again, instead of debunking anything I say, if I'm crazy, I'm drugs, I'm this, I'm that, why not come in, listen to what's being said, and then debunk it? Instead of you come right in and start talking shit. Who is going to do that other than dumb fucking bots? This isn't, so much of this is just fake bullshit. So much of this is it's just stupidity, really. Israel's God's people, you are not to turn against the Lord. Yeah, right. Because God's real. Okay. It just, but see, that person even if they're trying to be stupid or whatever, they're making the point. Understand why you're a Christian. If you're a Christian, it's so that you're a willing servant, so that you're obedient before you even get to the narrative, right? Because when you think about it, I was talking to my kids about this today, and I said, listen, the Jays have tricked the non-Jays into believing that the bad guys in the Bible, the people that killed Jesus, that killed God's only son, those are that same Christian God's chosen favorite people. And my kid was like, well, that's stupid. And I said, there you go. A lot of people won't see it. But when you just like, if I could make one argument as to how ridiculous the whole religious thing is, it's that one. Just think about that and then apply it to the world that we live in. You know, there is a group of people that are literally committing genocide right now, killing mostly women and children because they've already killed all the men or taken them hostage, prisoner. They're bragging about it while calling themselves victims on the news, the media, networks that they control. It's never happened in the history of the world that we know of where one group is committing absolute genocide and the world and doing it in front of the world, and everybody's like, oh, okay. The demiurge wanted sacrifices, not the creator of this realm and other realms. But why do you automatically think it's something supernatural? I mean, I think a lot of us have been given the narratives that we've been given, and we're too smart to fall for it. So we just think, no, that's just stupid. So then we start thinking about, well, maybe it's supernatural. And you remember, you're told you're not allowed to talk about these things. You're told as a human, you're supposed to try to figure it out. You're supposed to try to figure out who the bad guys are. You're supposed to try to figure out what the problem is. And the thing is, once you start looking into it, eventually, it's always going to come back to the Jays. Always. Everything that works against us, all that, it's all either created by or run by or whatever by the Jays. And so then it comes down to you just making a choice. You're either going to go against the grain and not believe as you're told to believe and just ask simple questions, or you're going to believe it and do as you're supposed to do. It's your choice. Submarine exists, but I like to listen to you. If you really think submarines exist, why? It's just as much as anything else. How many submarines have you been on that were going through the water at 40 knots, 300 meters down below the surface? How many of those have you been on? And I'm already going to say, I already know the answer. It's none. It's nothing. You've never been on that. And whether you have a uncle who used to work on submarines or your best friend is a, if you believe what military people tell you, again, I mean, I just don't know how to smash this point home hard enough. By the way, like, share, sub if you're watching, do all that stuff. You have to see it. I mean, it's like, I if you can't see it, if you can't actually, have access to it, then why believe it? Been in 2 submarines before. Sure you have. Sure you have. Submarines just don't make, there's only a couple of points that I'm going to make about it that I don't need to make a whole bunch of other points. That's the thing. All you really need, like with the Earth shape argument, right? If there are places on Earth where you can see farther than you mathematically should be able to see on a round Earth, that's that. That's that. When it comes to submarines, go find some footage of a submarine underwater that looks real. I only found 2 videos, and those 2 videos were obviously fake. The other videos that you'll see over and over again are the people inside the submarine. For some reason, all that super top secret, technology and whatnot, they love making videos showing it off. And what you never, ever, ever see is somebody in the submarine go, whoa, whoa. Like you do when you're in something, whether it's a plane, whether it's a boat, whatever it is. If you're in that thing and it starts moving, whoa, or you hit some sort of turbulence or anything, whoa, you can't just stand there. That doesn't look like you're just standing on the ground. And then there's, you know, the history of it, all that shit. It's all right there. You know. And like I was saying earlier with the whole Super Friends thing. At the same time all of this shit was being, these narratives were being created for us. They're putting out shit like the Super Friends, which are telling you that the guy that thinks spending money on space travel is a waste and we should be feeding the people of the world, that he's the bad guy. Like it's it's just amazing. You know, people are willing to believe or question whether or not we can go to space. Like the whole legitimacy of space travel and all that shit. But if you think about it, submarines are a lot harder. Right? It's a lot harder to be like, space is just space. You're in a tube and it's in the water. There's, you know, billions of pounds, millions of pounds of the deeper you go, the more pounds of pressure is pushed on this thing, crushing it, or it would be. But you know, it's just like everything else. You just believe what you want. Literally 95% of what people believe or think they whatever, they don't know it. They've been given one or two narratives and they thought, well, this one sounds better, so I'm going to believe this one. I mean, the majority of you believe in God. The majority of you are Christian or Muslim, stupid Muslims or whatever. Like, the majority of you believe in one of the big three, the Abrahamic religions. And you literally have nothing to back that up. You have no reason whatsoever to believe any of that shit. You know? It's really fucking crazy. And actually, you have way more reason not to believe it. You know, plenty of you have prayed and it didn't come true. It's funny when the Christians will be like, no, dude, I prayed and it came true. Yeah, sure. Every once in a while, it might work out that the thing that you prayed for might just work out. But those same people never go, yeah, well, this was the 148th time I prayed and it finally came true. Like, you just have so much more evidence to the contrary. And you would think if it was something like the Bible, something like Christianity, something like that has its own Vatican and shit like that, you would think the list of provable truth would be a fucking mile long. Yeah, we let the churches be tax-free because they do this, and this, and this, and this. We let them get away with constantly raping children because, well, they do this, and this. Well, that one guy, you know, he took that picture of Jesus that one time, and like, it's all just stupid. And it's all about everything. Everything is all about distracting us. We, the Goyim, are supposed to be distracted from the Jays that control our narrative. And it's gross, and it's weird, and they are the worst of the worst people. You know, if you ever unfortunately get stuck sitting next to one or standing next to one at the train station or in an airplane or on a bus or whatever, I mean, it's an assault. You are being assaulted by them. Their stink and shit will get all up in your fucking person, and that's awful.
That's just the very orthodox.
That's the Hasidiotics, no doubt. But that's a lot of them. That's a lot of them.
Well, luckily for us, for the most part, they congregate in the same area.
I disagree.
So,
What can the people do?
run into them in public hardly ever.
The people can unify. We, the Goyim, can unify and say we're not going to do this anymore. Everything, like, this isn't a flip a switch revolution. This is a systematic, revolution where we break down everything that we've been told to believe. We need to break that shit down and just lay it out on the table. Okay, cool. You believe this. Now, make the best arguments you can, and I'll make the best arguments I can, and then we'll figure out which one makes the most sense. We're both going to be adults. We're both going to be, cool about this and whatnot. If I'm wrong, I'll acknowledge it.
What if nobody's wrong and it's just a matter of difference of opinions or beliefs?
How can nobody be wrong? It's when you're talking about a matter of differences of opinions or beliefs, sure. The problem is when you say that you believe in something and then you supposedly guide your life by it. You give this thing money every week. You believe that people that aren't involved in your group don't have the same rights that you have. These are all dangerous things. And if you're going to make those kind of dangerous assertions, well, you should have some sort of backup for that. It's not like you're just saying, oh, I believe in this, and then that's okay. I believe the color blue is actually the color green, and that's not going to negatively affect people. But when you're talking about, well, our group is chosen by God to lead over you, and we're not held to the same ethical, legal standards that everyone else is, and well, you should have some proof for that. Are you mad, bro? Yeah, oh yeah, I'm furious. I can't stand you pedos. All of you pedos out there, I hate you. And I'm super proud of that. Just like I'm super proud of my anti-Semitism. Because I know what the fuck the words mean. Semitism is supremacy. It's a policy or predisposition favorable to the Jays. And I don't believe that. I don't believe any group gets favor. I don't believe any group should be, because of their stupid, unprovable, racist, biased, fucking religious beliefs, that they should get some sort of favor. No, you're not born special. Wherever you're, it's crazy how we're so...
We've been brainwashed to think that because of royalty.
Well, we do that in lots of different ways, though. But the idea that anyone is born special is fucking stupid. And just like with religion, royalty is another one of those things we absolutely need to get rid of. Why should we have kings and queens and shit? And still, this is one of those things. Okay, so I'm going to make my argument that all that shit's stupid. It doesn't benefit us. It takes from us. It creates separation. It's supremacy. It's all these negative things. And I'd love to hear your positive things. Why we should keep those things. It's really simple, actually. You would think I'm just some weirdo here in Detroit that goes live. I make these claims and I say these things. And if I'm wrong, there should be plenty of people in here that make decent arguments as to why I'm wrong. And yet, if you look at the comments, more than anything, it's a shoot messenger kind of thing where they're trying to make me look like I'm crazy or bad so that you guys, the watchers, go, if any of you are on the fence and you're like, hey, this guy kind of makes sense. Or, well, as soon as they start pumping that, he's crazy. If you want the reason out, you'll take it. We believe what we want to believe. We believe, if you ask my wife and her brother the same questions about their mother and whatnot, my wife will say completely different things than her brother will. And it's strictly because one wants to believe this way and one wants to believe that way. And that's just what we do as people. And instead of us wanting to be our very best and not letting stupid things like labels, that's my mom or that's my priest or that's my this or that, override your ability to see the truth. We run with it. I mean, if anything, shouldn't religious clergy be held to the highest standard? Shouldn't they be the last ones you would think would violate a child? But then when you start to break the shit down and you go, wait a minute. So the Jays created this organization that you're not supposed to be married, not supposed to have children. The job ad, the want ad, is like it's fishing for pedos. How many of you, you're not allowed to have sex, you're not allowed to get married, you're not allowed to do all that. You got to live in this weird ass building and you don't pay bills, you don't do any of that shit. You don't have this. Who's going to go into that? How many of you are going to go into any situation knowing you're not going to have sex? I mean, that's for when you're married for a long time. Then you don't get to have sex. But to think to think about how many of you take your relationship advice, take financial advice, take just life advice from virgins who don't pay bills. That's insane to me. That's insane. But like I say, we just believe what we want. Like Christians are the same thing as Trump supporters. All right? Most Christians believe that every other religion is just unbelievably stupid. How could anyone ever believe in Islam and their stupid, crazy practices and yada, yada, yada. However, the Christianity thing, that makes total sense. Trump supporters think every other politician ever bought and paid for, pieces of shit, working for the New World Order and the Illuminati and all that shit. But not their buddy Trump for some reason. Not Epstein's best buddy, who covered up Epstein's death, who swore he was going to drain the swamp, then lost the election by 2.7 million votes, and that same swamp put him in anyway, who locked us all down during COVID. Like, all those things, you guys think for some reason that guy is a good guy. How does that even work? And every single Trump supporter, as soon as you start saying something about Trump, they go, oh, this guy's a Kamala's. I fall for the Trump side of things. So this guy must vote for the other side, then. He must fall for it too. They tell us we're going to slap you in the face with the left hand or the right hand. Pick one. And I'm smarter than you. See, I figured it out. I asked them what hand they were, and they said they were left-handed, so I picked the right hand, knowing they couldn't smack me as hard, because I'm so fucking smart. That's how that works. And again, look at the comments. Is anybody going to debunk that Trump was best buddies with Epstein?
We got Schultz.
And then covered up his death? Is anybody going to debunk that Trump locked us down for COVID? Anybody going to debunk that he was going to drain the swamp and then the swamp put him in anyway? Like, do you guys even try? Or do you just, you're stupid. You're stupid. It's fascinating. We've been tricked into being just the worst version of ourselves. We hate people because of who they love, or we hate people because of their skin color, or we hate people because of their religious beliefs. Instead of it being this whole we're all here together and there's a conspiracy to keep us where we are. And if you're dumb enough to think there's not a conspiracy, like it's not a crazy convoluted conspiracy like you've been taught to believe. As soon as you start believing in devils and all that bullshit, well, then it gets kind of crazy. But when you just understand that, it's a dumber, physically inferior group of us who it controls the narrative. They've tricked you into saying that if you say they have all the money, the power, and the control, that's somehow a slur. But to think that one small group, 0.183% of the world's population, 2 to 4% of the United States population, has all the money and the power and the control, and they're trying to maintain that. Why wouldn't they maintain that? They're dumber than us, and they're physically inferior to us. So how, what keeps them in charge is their ruthlessness. Their willingness to starve people. Do you guys understand that that's what's happening right now? Right now there is a genocide taking place. Genocide. For those that don't know what genocide is, that's when you annihilate an entire culture of people. There is a genocide taking place right now. Like right now, Israel is using American-made warplanes, jets, to drop American-made super bombs on civilians. Mostly women and children, because the men have all been taken hostage already. Or killed. This is what's happening right now. Can you guys tell me something that's more important than that? Is there anything more important than stopping maybe the Hollywood pedo thing and the fact that, 800,000 children go missing every year, and that's definitely a big thing, but right this minute there is a genocide taking place. And in a very disgusting, just really, really horrible group of people is killing another group of people using your American tax dollars. It's not about free Palestine. I'm not a free Palestine guy. Palestine is yesterday's story. Lebanon is today's story. Lebanon's tomorrow. Syria is tomorrow's story. Iran is these are all, free Palestine isn't going to cover Syria, Iran, Lebanon, all that. And it's not even about end Israel, because Israel is just the fake sort of house. It's not even a real house. It's just we make the borders here, and this part's called Israel. There's not any physical anything there. Other than, where they've built walls and shit, but still. The real solution, the thing that we should all be screaming at the top of our lungs, is end Jayism. End the supremacist cult of stupid people. Like, listen, these are stupid people. These are people who control the media, so they purposefully put out stories that say, like last year they were saying that the UN, in the beginning of 2023, the UN was talking about looking into Israel. And because the whole thing with Israel is they claim that it's a temporary occupation. They've been murdering people for almost 80 years, but it's just temporary. And the other side of the argument is that
permanent place set to be.
Exactly. But it's a colonization. It's what it is. It's a colonization. They're clearly not going anywhere. And they're clearly just murdering indiscriminately. Well, the UN said, look, we know you guys say this, and this is the other claim against you. We're going to open up the books. We want to come in and we're going to come into Israel and open up the books and just look at what your plans are and just what's going on, just so we can confirm or deny that it's a colonization or it's an occupation, whatever. The stupid Jays put out a response that they think makes them look good. They say that you can't open up the books on Israel because that demonizes Israel. Well, any rational, intelligent human being is going to say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, how can we demonize you? How does looking at what you've done demonize you if everything's okay and on the up and up? That's how stupid these Jays are. But they've also made us a lot dumber. That's the craziest part. They have Goyim mutilating their children at birth because of their Jay tradition, because of their Jay disgusting nonsense. Again, look at the comments, guys. Why isn't anyone debunking what I'm saying? Why does it seem like all the comments are people whose feelings are hurt, so they're trying to hurt my feelings back? Just use your heads, people. You can't be told everything. Well, you can be, but I want you to look. Huh?
That's how we got here in the first place, by people allowing themselves to be told everything and not
figuring it out. Right. I mean, it's so. Again, we're talking about a people who like how many of you actually know about the Samson option? Lots of people come on here and talk shit about they know submarines exist. They know it. What about the cartel submarines? You know about the cartel submarines. Why don't you guys know about the Samson option? The Samson option is Israel's deterrence strategy that states if Israel is ever invaded and or destroyed. So like the wording is very specific. Yeah. All they have to do is say that we're being invaded.
Right.
You could say that, two people coming into your country from another country holding a flag, blah, 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 they're invading us. So by making it so it's invaded and or destroyed, instead of just destroyed, they can do it anytime they want. And it says that if the country that is committing genocide right now against a basically defenseless population, if they ever get invaded, that they'll launch their nukes in every direction, commit genocide against the world. Why is that okay? Like, it's funny because like with the Trump supporter, how the Trump supporter immediately makes you a Kamala supporter if you don't support Trump. Well, I'm not a Christian, not a Muslim, not any of those dumb Abrahamic religions for sure, which Abrahamic religion means it's given to you by the father of the J people, Abraham. So, it's like you guys don't even know. Christianity comes out of Second Temple Jayism. Islam is just another breach of Jayism used to control the people. Hey guys, hey all you non-Jays, we don't necessarily believe in heaven or hell. We believe you got to make the best of your life and you squash anybody you have to make your life good. You guys believe that if you just do everything we tell you to do and don't fight back or don't talk back, when you die, oh boy, that's when the real party starts, if you can make it in. Huh? What? I mean, it's stupid. If you don't see what is being done to you, I just don't know how else to put it. Like, I'm trying to come up with the best ways of putting it so a dumb child could see it. Again, you believe the bad guys in your Bible, the bad guys in the Bible is not Satan. The bad guys in the Bible, the ones who killed your Jesus superhero, who also happens to be your Christian God's only son, They killed him, your Christian God's only son. They look down on you, and you're dumb enough to call them your Christian God's chosen people. I mean, it's just, I don't understand. I don't know what else I need to say to you. Like, how else can I show you that you've been duped? Look who's in control in the U.S. government. One of the only, if not the only, dual citizenship you're allowed to have and still be a high-ranking member of our government is Israeli.
You can't have Canadian?
I don't think so. And then, I mean, we give Israel $3.8 billion a year. We've given Israel well over $18 billion since October 7th of last year. And no Israelis were killed. No Israelis were taken hostage. It's all just bullshit. But you think giving Israel all of our money is good? You don't think in the last year...
Go into our schools. Have you guys seen any of your local schools? Have you driven in
down the roads?
On roads? Have you, looked and noticed the number of people that are begging for money because they're fucking not surviving? But yet...
A lot of those people are military people too, by the way.
Right.
A lot of those people that are homeless out in the streets, they served their country.
Our shelters are filled. And if you don't like humans, look at the animals. Our shelters are overflowing with animals that need help. You still okay with that money going to another country?
A first world country, but it's a first world country. It's not like this is a poor country who needs help. This is a first world country who uses that money to fucking kill people. They literally created some bullshit narrative on October 7th. And then, like, it's obvious it's bullshit. So, on November 7th, a month after it happened, I looked it up. I looked up the Israel-Hamas war at the time, 2023. I looked up the Wikipedia page. And I clicked on the edit history, and then I went all the way back to the first edit. And, I did this because I had already done this once. And I'd heard about many times, like Handy Sook, where the Wikipedia pages or the relief pages were created the day before. And when Russia did its unprovoked invasion of Kiev, I looked it up, and I found the same thing then, that the page was created the day before. So when I looked up the Israel-Hamas page, the first edit on that page was made at 6:22 a.m. on October 7th, local time. The thing is, the supposed surprise attack that nobody knew was coming and all these other bullshit excuses, it didn't start till 6:30 a.m. October 7th, 2023. So the page was made 8 minutes before the surprise event was made or happened. And then if you were to look at the edit history, you would see that within the first half hour, there were like 5 accounts that were just laying out the narrative for the next few days. And they made claims like, right off the bat, the Israelis had killed 1,500 Hamas in Israel. They also claimed that Hamas launched 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes. In the first 20 minutes, Hamas launched 5,000 rockets. And it all happened so fast, that's why there's no footage of it, because it just happened so fast. This is one of the most heavily surveilled areas in the region. and there's no footage of 5,000 rockets being launched. The thing is, of course, as always, the Israeli Iron Dome shoots down 99% of them. And the 1% that does come through, the system analyzes and figures out, if that rocket's going to fall short or not hit anything important, then they let that one go through. I literally had a dumbass friend of mine tell me that Hamas was committing economic terrorism against Israel because they're launching rockets into Israeli airspace, way up in the sky, of course. Rockets never get launched directly into Israel. It's always way up in the sky so that the Iron Dome can shoot them down. But he said that they're launching, couple $1,000 rockets into Israeli airspace, and the Israelis have to use $10,000 to $100,000 rockets to be able to shoot those rockets down. They're committing economic terrorism. And I'm just like, dude, how can you be that stupid? 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes is 4 rockets per second. So a people that can't even get lumber into their region because there's an Israeli blockade around the Gaza Strip, and they prevent all the supplies, medicine, weapons, but even lumber to rebuild the houses, the Israelis said could be used as weapons, so they don't let them get lumber. However, somehow they were able to smuggle in 5,000 rockets and enough rocket launchers to be able to launch 4 rockets per second for 20 minutes. How does that make sense to anyone? When they say things like they killed 1,500 Hamas in Israel, and then from here on out you get reports saying that, well, at first it was around 1,400, then it dropped down to around 1,200, and now it's around 1,100 people in Israel have been killed. That's what the narrative will tell you every time you look at it. They never say 1,100 Israelis were killed. They won't say that. They can't say that. That's not true. They say 1,100 people, around 1,100 people in Israel were killed. So they're telling you the truth. They're just manipulating how you take that truth. If see, again, a lot of it depends on how long you've been following this narrative. Earlier in 2023, some dumb J kid was driving around the Gaza Strip in his fucking Corvette or whatever it was, and he was being an asshole. He was drunk, and he was running people off the road, and he was yelling shit, and he was doing all this stuff, and he crashed. And during the crash, he died. It was a bad crash. So they took this kid's body to a hospital in the Palestinian enclave. It was the closest hospital, so they took it there. Where again, he was dead. Either he died there or he was dead on the way, whatever. Netanyahu and company was prepared to do the October 7th response in order to get this body, because the narrative was that somebody came and stole that kid's body. They didn't know where it went. And so Israel was going to bring the entire military into the region to get a dead body. And I would imagine that the cooler heads prevailed, the smarter heads prevailed. I said, look, we're going to do this, but we have to come up with a better reason to commit genocide than to get a dead body. So that's when they created the October 7th bullshit. But to think that Israel was willing to bring the entire military force onto a civilian population to retrieve a dead body, and yet, initially they said it was 250 hostages. 250 hostages were taken, and Israel didn't, the Hamas people supposedly, again, Hamas is just like Al-Qaeda. It's just Israel's boogeyman. It's the Israeli military, but it's just the boogeyman. Hamas was saying, look, we'll give you, because immediately Israel starts bombing. They start bombing an area where potentially hostages are being held. You don't know where those hostages are. They could be anywhere. and Israel is dropping bombs everywhere indiscriminately. Which, and they're not going after their people. Hamas then says, if you guys just stop bombing us, we'll give you all 250 hostages. Israel says, fuck you, we're going to bomb more. The same people that were willing to bring a military in to retrieve a dead body seem almost unconcerned with the supposed hostages. And of course, those of you who remember, within 2 weeks, there was the first Israeli hostage was released. The first couple Israeli hostages were supposedly released. I'd like to say it's because they were, it's too hot. They were complaining and shit too much. But I think they just did this to because again, they're really stupid. So they think they're doing the right thing, and they think they're gonna answer questions before the questions get asked. So they released this one woman who apparently she gets released by her. This is within 2 weeks. She gets released by her captors, turns around and shakes their hand. That's what you're gonna do, right?
Fuck yeah.
You've been taken hostage by people and treated, as a hostage for the last 2 weeks. You're going to shake their hands.
Thank you so much for stealing me and keeping me from my family.
Now remember, a lot of these people were kidnapped on motorcycles. Because Hamas came in on paragliders and motorcycles. How do you kidnap somebody on a motorcycle?
Yeah.
All right, hang on really tightly. You better put your arms around my waist and hang on, or I'm going to shoot you. You think that's how?
Be under the side. Be over the shoulder.
Whatever. You couldn't, either way, you couldn't do it. But the woman says, she's interviewed, she says, yeah, at first they were violent, but since then they've treated us really well. All of my old lady bruises healed up. Because, they were violent at first. And you know how, when old people get hurt, it's just a tiny little bruise and then it goes away within a couple. Actually, when old people get hurt, they could bump their knee a little bit and it turns into this giant strawberry fucking black nasty shit, because that's what happens when old people get hurt. But apparently, within 2 weeks, all of her bruises and contusions had healed. And she said that they were all given kosher meals and that there was a doctor assigned to each elderly person to make sure that they were getting all of their meds. Because someone like me is obviously going to go, aren't a lot of those hostages elderly? Don't they have medication needs?
So if they were attacked and any sort of destruction or damage was done or whatever, that cost them money. So now they just spent a ton of money to create a facility and pay doctors and all this.
No,
it
wasn't a facility. No, apparently this group is being moved around. At first they were claiming that the group was being moved around to different locations just before the bombs were being dropped. Which just doesn't make sense.
Well, all that costs money. Why would you?
Well, at the same time, you're talking about a people who are saying, look, we don't have the medicine to help all of our people that you keep dropping bombs on. And they were amputating. There was a child that had all 4 limbs amputated and they had no anesthetic. But yet these Hamas are taking hostages so that they can feed them their proper kosher meals and ensuring that they have all the doing everything they can to keep the hostages alive while their people are being slaughtered.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And actually, initially, Hamas said that if Israel didn't stop the bombing, they were going to start killing hostages on TV. So when Israel was like, we're going to drop more bombs, Hamas got to kill... No, they didn't kill any hostages.
Well, but the decapitated babies.
Yeah, right. So then they fit that whole story about the 42 babies that were decapitated and burned. Why were there 42 babies in a room together?
Well, what,
A room that was unoccupied by any adults.
I don't understand why the reporter said it and then lied about it and then turned around and had to like say that
Because she didn't have to say it. She didn't. The story of that she lied about it. I still have people that talk about that. They don't know that the story that she lied wasn't a big story.
No. No.
So then day 50 rolls around of the hostage situation. And now there's supposedly Hamas has agreed for literally no reason. Like Israel says, hey, all the people, you go over to this area and then we won't drop bombs on you anymore. We're dropping bombs where you are now. Go over there and you'll be safe. So then the people walk their happy asses over to wherever they're supposed to go. And along the way, they get killed. And while they're there, they get killed.
And then electricity shut off. And running water shut off. And
food and all that. Right. And we
you can't leave.
We keep making this, like this news report keeps coming out. The Israelis are attacking the aid trucks and they're blocking the aid trucks from going to help the people. Well, they just spent all that money and effort trying to kill the people. Why would they then let you bring aid to them? It just doesn't make any sense. Right? It's just stupidity. But day 50 rolls around, and for no reason whatsoever, Hamas agrees to release 100 hostages. And the way it's going to be set up this time is it's going to be under the cover of darkness, so we can't see just how bullshit it is. But Hamas will meet on one side of the square, and then the Israelis will be on the other side of the IDF will be on the other side of the square. And hand in hand, 2 by 2, with a Hamas soldier on each side, with their khakis on and their balaclavas with the bright green headband so you know where to make the headshot. And their gun. They're going to walk on either side as the Israelis are taken 2 by 2 from one side to the other. And that all goes off without a hitch. And of course, Israel doesn't put like a tracking device on the vehicle or use drones to find out and blah, blah, blah. It's all stupid. It's all stupid. But a video surfaces a couple days later showing those same hostages hugging their captors, smiling, laughing, shaking their hands. One chick saluted one of them. This was just before they were getting let off. They were just happy and jovial, just having a good time. And then when they were released, they were all scared. Now, one of the most interesting coinkydinks is prior to the release of the hostages, a week prior to, the Israeli media was covering a story of a family whose little girl had been taken hostage, and they were celebrating her birthday anyway. They were having a big birthday party for her, and of course her parents were taken all over the world to meet dignitaries and all this other shit. They were super famous. They got super famous out of this. But the news is covering this birthday party that they're having for their daughter that they don't know if she's even alive, apparently. According to the narrative, they didn't know whether she was alive or anything, but they're still having the birthday party for her anyway. Well, it just so happens that a week later when the hostages are released, that little girl is released in the hostage, in the deal, and she's the whisper girl. She's been so traumatized by what she's been through that she can only speak in whispers. So when the reporters ask her, what was it like? Blah, 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 maybe. But what was it like? What was it like? She would whisper to her dad. And then her dad would be like, well, she said that the hostage, that the soldiers were doing. And you go, well, she didn't whisper all that to you. What are you talking about? But they needed to ensure the narrative. They knew they couldn't trust a little girl to say everything right. So they come up with this bullshit narrative that she's so traumatized she can only whisper. You ever heard of that before? That's kind of like Andrew claiming that he was shot at, so he couldn't sweat anymore. Well, he didn't sweat anymore at the time of the picture. Because, you've all heard about those people that have such traumatic events happen that they can't sweat anymore, right? And this is the shit that the J media pushes on us. Like, we're too dumb to know it. So those two just got dropped off at the end of the street, and now they're coming over to... I know. Why would they have gotten dropped off there and not here, in front?
Who dropped them off?
White truck.
Oh, that's why.
So? You still...
She hasn't seen her...
I'm just... Forget it. Sorry, we're going off in a different direction than I want to go.
An argument there.
But just think about how ridiculous that whole thing is. So, what ends up happening is that after the fact, now the narrative is that the hostages are being held by civilians. They interviewed some supposed Hamas leadership, asking them about the hostages, and they claimed that they didn't know how many hostages were left. They didn't know what the status was, because the hostages were being held by individual families just strewn about throughout the area, hidden 1 or 2 or 3 at a time in a family house. Yet when Benny Gantz was asked, he said that Israel knows where all of the hostages are, which would make sense as to why they're not, they're bombing like they are. Because, you launching bombs and shit where your own hostages might be seems kind of dangerous. And so then what you get is these bullshit narratives where you have like one guy is a reporter. He's a Palestinian reporter for Al Jazeera or something like that. And he he puts out an article telling the truth, a scathing report about what's happening with Israel, blah, 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 blah. The next day, the IDF shows up to his family compound where his dad is actually a really prominent doctor in the area. So these people have money. That's why they have a big compound. His dad is a well-respected doctor. They have, they have nothing to do with it. They're good people. They kick in his door, they shoot his dad in the head, and then shoot his wife in the head right in front of him, and then they shoot him. And we know this because one of his other family members was hiding somewhere and could see it, but was hiding. And so, after they do their killing, they suddenly walk out with 3 hostages. Now, according to all of the interviews of all the townspeople, they had no idea. They never saw any hostages. These people aren't the Hamas type. The guy's a doctor. The other guy's a reporter. Like they had no idea that these hostages were being held in this family compound, because they weren't. What Israel does is they have soldiers go into a place, then take off their soldier clothes and walk out civilians as hostages. And you know that because if you look at every single hostage you've been shown, every single one of them, none of them are gaunt. None of them are skinny, are bruised, have been, starved or anything like that. They all look like, a lot of them have jowls still. This good stuff here. Well, if you're being held hostage, why would you still be tan? Why would you still have all that meat on your bones? Well, come to find out that again, as always, the only narratives you get are Israeli narratives, right? None of the reports or anything like that come out of anywhere but the IDF, which all they do is lie. The IDF is nothing but liars. And they say these things like, oh, these Palestinians keep crying about so they've had 200,000 people be killed. So what? You should see what they're doing to these hostages they're keeping. One of the hostages claimed that just because he stood in front of an open window they made because and again, this is how stupid the Israelis are, right? If he got in trouble for standing in front of an open window, that means he's being held where there are windows, and he's not chained down. He's free to move. So when they say these narratives to try to make themselves look like victims, oh, all he was doing was standing in front of a window. It's because they're too stupid to realize what they're actually saying.
No, get this to go. Don't do a transfer now. I don't want to fee. But I can't get it to go.
No, I can't. I don't know. I'm in the middle of something. So they say, you know, they say he was punished by being made to lay in a bed for 2 whole days without talking to anyone. Again, not realizing that they're saying that they get beds. They get beds. They're not supposed to lay on the floor. They get beds. Another one of the hostages, again, I know you guys are like, man, these poor Israelis, right? Another one of the hostages was made to lay in a bed with lots of blankets on him in the summertime for a long period of time. You know why? I mean, literally, all he did was wash his dirty, filthy, chosen hands in the drinking water. That's all he did. You know, they have separate water. They have water for washing hands and water for drinking. And really, I mean, let's be honest, if they're Palestinian, they should have been honored, right? All that chosen skin coming off in the drinking water. If they drink it, then they get bits of chosen inside them now. They should be lucky, right? These are the narratives that they give. The other narrative was that a third hostage, a female, get this, she was made to wash dishes. Can you believe that? A J princess being made to wash dishes. That's the exact same thing as genocide. Right? I'm right, right? That's the same thing as genocide?
Totally comparable.
Being made to wash dishes. Huh. And of course, these are always the hostages that there's no proof of. They just find them after the fact. Once they raid the place and kill everybody inside, then they find the hostages. And you don't think that's bullshit? Back to the October 7th thing, right? They claim that around 1,100 Israelis were around 1,100 people in Israel were killed. Well, if they were Israelis, if they were Jays, if you follow any of the narratives, you understand that the Jays believe that their bodies need to be in the ground within 72 hours of dying. And so because of that belief, that literally overrides the like legal protocols and, you know, investigations and all that shit. Why do you think somebody keeps posting my address? Instead of debunking what I'm saying, what are they trying to make people come harm me because I'm talking about stuff that you're too stupid to debunk? I'm asking questions you're too stupid to ask or answer, so what? They should come get me. Ooh. What a stupid ass. He's saying, this is his address, do what you want. Because he's too stupid. That's basically admitting I'm too stupid to actually debunk you, so I'm going to try to get people to come get you. What if that's not the epitome of a dumb J, I don't know what else is. I don't know what I can show you guys that will prove to you anymore that these dumb J's are just that. So anyway, the Jays believe that they have to be put in the ground within 72 hours. Now, again, you go back to early in 2023, supposedly a couple of Hamas shot up a gas station, killing 4 people. You know, 4 people, the exact same amount of people that could easily have been killed in a car crash. It was 3 younger people and 1 elderly person. So even an elderly person could have died, natural causes or whatever. And then these 3 people could have been involved in a car crash or something like that. Whatever it is, they then stage the event and say that Hamas killed them. Now, according to the narrative, 2 members of Hamas shot up this gas station and then escaped. One of which was killed by the IDF. The other one was killed by a random civilian, a settler. Of the 4 people killed, 2 were late teen, early 20s girls. Within 2 hours of supposedly being killed, those 2 girls had had a funeral, had been buried, and the settlers had gathered together to do what they call a rampage. And the rampage is that the Jays form a line, and as they walk, they destroy everything in their path. They're like locusts. They burn houses, they beat people up, they break windows, they do whatever they can do, and it's called a rampage. And they're protected by the IDF soldiers who are behind them, who will shoot and kill or arrest anyone who tries to stop them. This is a thing that they do. It's called a rampage. But it requires you to believe that they were able to have a funeral and bury people all within 2 hours of being killed. You want another example? One a little closer to home? On October 21st, 2023, a J community leader here in Detroit was found stabbed to death, multiple times being stabbed on her front lawn at around 6:30 in the morning. And it looked like she had come, she had been stabbed and came out of her house and collapsed and blah, blah, blah. They arrested a black man who was about a mile away, who had apparently maybe stumbled across the body and was like, oh shit, he was out looking for cars to rob. This dumb Jay, the previous night, went to a wedding and was so drunk when she drove home that her security system shows her front door never closed. She never closed her front door. She was so drunk. And it shows that she was active in her house. Yeah, apparently she has one of these Epstein-like super Israeli security systems in her house that sensed movements in the house. And she was apparently watching YouTube videos or whatever till like 1:30 in the morning or some shit.
The only person I've ever known be so drunk they didn't close their door is because she lived in an apartment on the lowest level, walked into her door wall, opened it, passed out right there on the floor with their legs hanging out of the door wall, and until came home and saw that and woke her up and closed the door. She was so drunk that she forgot, but she was also so drunk she passed out. She didn't go in and start doing a bunch of shit in the house.
No.
If you're drunk enough to forget to close the door, you're too drunk to go do a bunch of shit in your house.
Well, the narrative isn't that she's too drunk. That's my assumption. Because I don't know anybody that wasn't drunk and didn't close their front door.
No,
right.
Never.
You got to be a fucking absolute tool.
I mean, unless you're a fucking stupid kid.
Right.
You're not old enough to drive in that case.
Right.
Or have a house.
Right. And the security system, again, apparently shows that movement was seen in the house at like 4:30. And then the guy that got arrested was found 3/4 of a mile away from the house a minute later. And if you watch any of these dumb shows that my wife watches, these NCISs and shit like that, they tell you when somebody is stabbed multiple times, especially in the face, it's personal. It's not somebody that's trying to rob or whatever. It's personal. The black guy was out casing cars looking for shit to rob. He found a white woman dead in her front yard. He didn't go in her house. He didn't take anything. But they tried to blame him. And interestingly, he wasn't initially like charged with the crime. For a few weeks, they didn't really know what had happened. And at one point, her boyfriend, her ex-J boyfriend, called the police and confessed that he's feeling really bad because he thinks he might have killed his girlfriend. And then that dude is actually let off and given immunity in the trial because he says he took a double dose of his psych meds and hit his weed pen 4 times. And because of that, he ended up calling the police and telling the police that he killed his ex-girlfriend. You know, like so many of us do. But they let him go. They rearrest this Michael Jackson Bolanos character. And they try everything they can to put it on him. And during the opening arguments and all that, the judge keeps interrupting the defense. A J judge, decides that the charges aren't stiff enough. And, you know, if you know anything about, like, prosecutors and shit, they only try to prosecute crimes they know they can solve. If there's any doubt or any sort of weird shit, they won't go after it. But the judge kept trying to make it all about hate crimes. And because anytime a J dies, it's a hate crime. You know, Dylan Root or Roof, whatever his name is, posed with a bunch of Confederate flags, talked about openly hating black people, went to a black church and shot it all up. And he was driven to Burger King. And they were still like, well, we don't necessarily know if it's a hate crime or anything like that. Anytime it's them, it's automatically a hate crime. But the strangest part about all, well, and actually, so they tried, they added all these charges and they couldn't get it. So what they ended up getting him for was lying to the police. And this man was given 18 months to 25 years for lying to the police. Have you ever heard of anything so fucking insane? Have you ever heard of anything so fucking insane? So it makes you wonder, right? Because the actual strangest part of it is the crime happened on October 21st. She was found around 6:30 a.m. by a neighbor. The October 22nd newspapers, the Moral News, say that the funeral was beautiful and over 1,000 people showed up. Now, this is less than 24 hours after she was killed or found dead. This is the newspapers talking about it in the past tense, that the funeral yesterday, the day she was killed, was attended by more than 1,000 people. We're talking about a high-ranking J in our society, which, you know, they all know each other. So the fact that a J judge was in charge of the trial and then did everything they did, like, obviously that if the judge knows the person, they should be recused. They shouldn't be allowed to hold trial over, you know, a murder trial over someone they know. That shouldn't happen. But let me just ask you guys, come on, because I'm wrong. I'm super wrong and I'm super crazy, right? How does anyone have a funeral for someone within hours of them being killed? Especially when it's something where they don't even know what really happened. This woman was found on her front lawn. You're telling me there's no police investigation? There's no autopsy? You know, the funeral arrangements and all that shit, that was all just done within hours? If anybody can tell me about that shit, I'd love to know. Please, somebody. Somebody. Tell me how anybody has a funeral within hours of being killed. Anyone, anywhere. But this high-ranking Jay, I mean, she probably had family all over that would have wanted to be at her funeral, right? January 2018, Robert Bowers Jr. appears on Gob. According to the media, Gob, G-O-B, is like the Facebook for white supremacists. And this Robert Bowers Jr. character appears in January of 2018, and he has nothing nice to say about the Jays. And over the next few months, he posts multiple different things talking about how much he hates the Jays. Then at one point, he buys a couple of pistols and posts that he's going to do something about this here soon. And then one day, he posts the pistols again and says, that's it. Today, I'm going to go do something about this. Now, this is the admitted white supremacist Facebook. You don't think the government's going to be watching that shit? I know that the agent, the fake piece of shit Liam Xmail, supposedly made some bullshit threats against the owner of YouTube or the CEO of YouTube or something like that. And the FBI swooped in and arrested him at a coffee shop, and he was disappeared for a couple of years. Rebooting, it's just a reboot of their agent, but still. You're telling me this guy's saying all these bad things about the Jays, posting pictures of guns, talking about, I'm going to go get the Jays, blah, 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 blah. And they never decided to go after him for that? He then goes to the Pennsylvania synagogue on a Sunday of all things, because, they love having their mass on Sunday, right? He goes in and starts shooting. Now, according to the first responder, the first 6 people looked like they had been drug in and laid in a line and then shot. It's kind of weird. But this guy goes and he does this shooting where the average person, the average age of the people killed is like 72. And it's only 72, would be a lot older, except for the fact that there were 2 retarded guys, like 59 and 62 or something like that, whose parents had just died and who had become a ward of the state's problem. So those 2 were also killed. And if not for those 2, the average age would have been like 82. But those 2 brought the average down. Conveniently, I guess.
I mean, it just, you're saying it all, and it just sounds...
Unbelievable.
No, it sounds carefully crafted.
Manufactured, but it sounds like a bad TV plot. And so he then, he ends up killing like 8 or 11 people or something like that. 13 people probably. And he does this shooting. The only news that ends up showing up is all like 3 blocks away. You know how that never happens? Well, on this one occasion, there are no news, no drones, no nothing. There's 0 footage of this. You can hear what sounds like fireworks going off in the background. And you can, every once in a while, you'll see soldiers run in front of the camera. But there's literally no footage of it. There's no footage of this man, doing this shooting. He ends up getting into a shootout with the cops where the whole time he's yelling all this, I hate the Jays and blah, blah, blah. He gets shot in the leg. is taken in custody to a local hospital where his gunshot wound is treated. The entire time he's yelling a bunch of shit, yelling a bunch of I hate the Jays kind of shit. And then he's taken to court straight from there, where he's then sentenced to forever in prison, throw away the key, nobody's allowed to interview him, nothing. He's just gone. Robert Bowers Jr., just gone. Nobody wants to, and we still talk about Jack the Ripper, who killed like 3 people in Britain in the 1800s. We still talk about Charlie Manson, who never killed anyone. Yet a guy who supposedly, did this horrible shooting, nobody wants to interview him. And there's literally no footage to prove it. Turns out, the guy has literally no social media presence, no footprint. The only footprint he has is on this Gob page since January, and a speeding ticket from like 2016. He lives in a transient motel, and the motel owner said, well, he's a trucker, so we never see him, and every month his rent is paid in an envelope full of cash. Turns out, this happens on a Sunday. Monday, half of the people, 5 or 6, they all have their funerals. And then the following Tuesday, the rest have their funerals. I guess the investigation and all that was just wrapped up real quickly and nice, huh? And the funeral parlors, they didn't have any other funerals. The autopsy people, they didn't have any other autopsies. They were able to knock all this out within roughly 36 hours or so. And it's so convenient because if this happens on a Sunday, theoretically, if let's just say there was a car crash and 4 elderly people were killed, and then you had several elderly people that were on life support, and they went to the families and said, look, they're going to die here soon. Can we just take them off life support and use them for this thing that makes the J Nation stronger? And of course the Jays are going to do it. Of course they are. So if you had people dying from Friday night through that Sunday, and then their funerals were on Monday and Tuesday, well, that would fall into that 72-hour window, wouldn't it? And you see how incredibly important their funerals are. Every story, these funerals are happening that fucking day. Go find the funerals from October 7th, October 8th, October 9th. There should be like around 1,100 funerals, right? No. Good luck. Good luck. You won't find them. Why? Because it's not real. Because Israel lies all the time. There was a guy called Hai Shalain. There's a story about Hai, H-A-I, Shalain, S-H-A-U-L-A-I-N. I always give you guys as many details as I can because I want you guys to look it up. Prove me wrong. Go look up Hai Shalain and see what it shows you. Hai Shalain was supposedly the number 1 protester in Israel. The number 1 anti-vax protester in Israel. Number 1 anti-mask. Number 1 anti-green pass. He was the thorn in the side of the Israeli government. He was supposedly arrested at a no-mask rally, meaning he was standing around a bunch of other no-maskers yelling, rah, rah, letting COVID sauce fly out all over from his mouth. Rah, rah, rah. He was arrested, taken to the police station. 2 days later, he was taken to the hospital with what ended up being super COVID. Because 6 days later, 7 days later, for some reason, he's able to release. This is a guy who's being held in captivity. He's allowed to release a statement on his to I don't even know who. Like wasn't on social media. But he releases a statement saying, "I'm too sick to respond or talk or respond," which is convenient. And that with some prayer and the medicine, he's going to be able to get through this in about 2 to 3 weeks. However, if he does die, it's because the police poisoned him. And again, I don't know anybody that was COVID free and within 8 days was dead, because the day after he releases that statement, he supposedly dies from his COVID. Of course, the very next day, his funeral exists, supposedly. And then the story dies. Not a single family member, not a single other protester or whatever is like, "Hey, what about Hai Shaline? He said he was poisoned. We need an investigation, blah, 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 blah." Just like there were no other people from that no mask rally that he was at that admitted themselves to the hospital 2 days later with super COVID and died 8 days later. Strange, huh? Strange. Even more strange is if you go to try to find this number one protester, this number one thorn in the side, there is none. There's no social media footprint. He didn't have a Facebook page or anything like that. He didn't exist. They just created a character so they could push a narrative. That narrative being, we can do anything we want. We could snatch you up and poison you, and even if you admit it, nobody will do anything. Like that's what that message was supposed to say. There was no Hai Shaline. That's a fake story, because that's what Israel does. They lie. Those kids, those 4 people supposedly killed at the gas station by Hamas. That's not real. That's a fake story. You can't have people killed and then have a funeral and all that shit within 2 hours. That's not believable. You can't be that stupid. You can't be that duped. You're just gonna believe it because the system tells you, even if it doesn't make any fucking common sense. But, if you're a Christian, they've already trained you in that way. They've already trained you by the Jay fairy tales that don't make any sense and don't ask questions and, don't do anything other than what you're supposed to do. They've already trained you in that art. They've already put that mindset on you. And you're more than willing to take it. Everything is about distracting us from Israel and the Jays. You want to fix all of the problems in the world? You want an answer to any of your questions? All the conspiracies and all that other shit? You're not going to get it any other way than us Goyim unifying as one nation, as one Goy nation, because that's how they see us. Everything that isn't them is Goyim. Beds, chairs, tables, food, people, animals. We are all on the exact same level to them, which is beneath them, and there to be used and abused by them if they so choose. And everything that we sit here and we argue about, all of our hatreds towards each other, all of our differences, they're all distractions that they put on us. Children don't care what color you are. They play together. There's no bias there. There's no racism there. That shit only exists because they get older and they get programmed. It's simple. Like I keep telling you, the conspiracy isn't this crazy thing that you think it is, or you've been told to think it is. Some chicken with its head cut off running around. It's not that bad. Or it's not that crazy, that far-fetched, that supernatural or whatever. It's literally just an inferior, mentally superior, like mentally inferior, physically inferior group of people doing everything they can to try to maintain control. Because some people think we are bombers even though it was the causer of 9/11. And what? Mossad did 9/11. I mean, it's like the system isn't going to come out and tell you that. You have to look at the narratives they give you. And when you understand that if you look up the dancing Israelis, right? Snopes and all these other stupid websites are going to tell you that it's not necessarily true. It's not 100% true. But they won't say it's false because it's real. There were a group of Israelis, Mossad agents, that had a tripod and a camera set up and filmed the first plane hitting, danced around, had a good time, high-fived each other, and then filmed the second plane hitting. And the police were called on them. And they were arrested. And then once they got taken to wherever, and it was found out that they were Mossad, they were put on a plane and sent back to Israel. While all of the other planes in the United States were being grounded, the Bin Ladens and these Mossad agents were flown out of the United States. Where they then went on TV, on Israeli TV after the fact, and laughed about it, joked about it. There's no conspiracy theory here. It's the narrative. The fact is, if you remember it, initially the news was telling us at least 10,000 people were probably killed in the tower collapse. Because that's how many people were supposed to be there. But for some strange reason, a lot, if not all of Jays didn't show up to work that day. So that number was drastically less because those buildings were full of Jays. That's why they thought 8,000 to 10,000 people should be killed. But even guys like Silverstein, who normally had his breakfast every day at the exact same time in the penthouse restaurant of the towers at the same table, same dish, everything's the same. He said that his wife had been nagging him about a doctor's appointment. And he'd been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And that morning, he just happened to go. But if you try to find like how many Jays were killed in 9/11, you can't. You can't. You know, these are just horrible, horrible people who lie to us all the time and do horrible things to us. I mean, they do horrible things to each other. You know, cutting and sucking baby penises is wrong. Doesn't matter what your religious bullshit says. We shouldn't be okay with that. And they've tricked you to not only be okay with it, but to do it to your own kid. Except with us, it's done to us within hours of being born. We don't have any sort of experience. We haven't. If you look at a newborn baby, hours old, compared to an 8-day-old baby, the 8-day-old baby is almost double the size. A newborn baby's all shriveled up and blue and just barely there, like just sort of figuring things out. And so when it comes to the goyim, they take the newborn away from the parents, put it in the nursery, let it sort of fucking, what the hell's going on? They then take it to the operating room where they basically crucify it. They lay it down, strap down its arms like this, strap it down, and then its legs are strapped down, so it's basically crucified. They don't use anesthetic because it's a newborn baby. They don't fucking do that. They put a little bell thing, it's like a bell-shaped thing, over the penis, and they spin it around, and when they spin it, the blade comes out, and it cuts the foreskin off, the glands, and all that necessary shit. And when it happens, the newborn baby, who has no idea what's going on, goes, ah! And goes into shock. And it may take, 20 minutes, it may take an hour for that baby to come out of shock. But they take the baby from the operating table, they wrap up its penis and fucking, so it pees all in its own wound. And then they take it back to the nursery where it's left to sort of figure out what the fuck just happened to it all by itself. And then it comes out of shock, it passes out. When it comes out of shock, it passes out. That's what we do when we come out of shock, we pass out. They then take the baby to the parents and they say, look, little man had his surgery and he's so sweepy, but he was a real trooper. And as the parent, oh, come here, and you give it the love that it's barely experienced. I mean, it's only a few hours old to begin with. Now, with the Jays think the female's vagina is so disgusting that the baby has to then be, well, they claim that it's because the baby's so, has to be purified for 7 days. But it's because they know that it's traumatic, that you shouldn't put newborn babies through such an awful, traumatizing thing, which is probably why the United States has the highest prison population and probably why we have such a rape culture and such a penis culture, because they mutilate us at birth. But with them, even if it's a C-section baby, they wait to the 8th day. And that baby has then experienced all sorts of love, security, food, happiness, warmth, joy, In that 8 days, it's doubled in size, and it knows it's there. It's experienced, all kinds of different things. It's not a couple of hours old. And they have this big party. It's called a bris. And the moil, whose sole job it is to perform these circumcisions, or what they call Brit Milah, supposed to be an overly joyous occasion. Like everybody goes there knowing what they're doing, and they try to make it as overly joyous as possible to try to compensate for the trauma. And so they all stand around, they have their party, they stand around, and they all watch as the moil stretches and cuts the baby's foreskin and then sucks on it. He sucks on it. And then the baby is then passed from person to person like, love, here's all the love, love. We know this was traumatic, but this is love. It's okay. You're not set to think about this all by your own, all on your own while you're in shock. And, it's completely different. It's because they know better. And it's all done because in the Bible, Abraham, the father of the J people, the father of all the religions, but the father of the J people, he's talking to God one day on his God phone. And God says, listen, I'm going to make you a deal. I'll never flood the earth again as long as you circumcise yourself and all of the J boys from here on out, and then all of your slaves as well, to mark your slaves as J property. It's important that the Jays do it for the sake of the world, and I'll show you that I'm not going to flood the world by showing you rainbows. Look up rainbows in the Bible. That's what rainbows are about. But what we're doing is a J custom meant to keep the world from being flooded. Because in Jayism, Brit Milah is the most important what the fuck's it called? Mitzvah in their religion. It's the most important thing they do. It's why Hanukkah is celebrated. Because they won the right to be able to cut and suck on baby penises. It's insane. It's insane. The Maccabee revolt and just look up what they want you to know. I'm not making anything up. I didn't just know this shit. I looked into it. I accidentally discovered the whole Maccabee thing. But you do it as Goyim. We do it to our children to mark our. Well, we have usually a J doctor do it to our children to mark us as J property. That's why it's not medical. It has nothing to do with medical shit, because if it was medical, it would be done all over as a standard practice. Yet in Europe, they flat out say that the benefits do not outweigh the dangers. It's way too risky and way too dangerous and way too traumatic. It's not even that, it's traumatic. They don't do it because they figured it out. But we do it. And they've tricked you into doing it to all of your I have two regrets in this world. One is that I allowed my children to be circumcised because I knew better, but I didn't know better. I didn't know this part. If I would have known it's all about J property and all that shit, definitely wouldn't have done it. If I would have known about the trauma, if I would have really just thought about it, if I knew what it was, because, you're just sort of pushed into it. You've been through this stressful birth thing, and then they just say, okay, we're going to go do this now. And you go, okay, I guess I want to be normal. So, I looked up just now, do Jays eat placenta? Google, do Jays eat the placenta? According to some sources, eating placenta is permissible for health reasons in Jayism, but is not considered kosher food. Eating or chewing the placenta is kosher, and it is permissible to eat and chew and spit it out after birth, especially if it's for health reasons. Dehydrating and crushing. If the placenta is dehydrated, crushed, and put into pill capsules, it is no longer considered food and it is instead considered medicine. The pills can be swallowed, but they should be created with different cooking utensils than those used for food. Any blood on the surface of the placenta should be washed off. According to the Talmud, again, we always have to go with the Talmud because it's like Fight Club, right? The first rule of the Talmud is don't talk about the Talmud. You tell the Goyim that our sacred book is the Torah. It's not. It's the Talmud. According to the Talmud, the placenta should be preserved in a bowl with oil, straw, or sand and buried in the earth a few days after the baby's birth. This symbolizes the life cycle. Let's see. I'm trying to find like an explanation of it. So this is eating the placenta a halachic option. I am about to give birth in the next few weeks. My doula has told me that she recommends the mother chew the placenta and spit it out afterwards, as she has seen amazing recuperative benefits from this. She does warn that Rh negative mothers should not do this unless the father is Rh negative as well. The primary benefit, according to her experience, is that it causes the uterus to contract quickly after childbirth and prevents postpartum hemorrhaging. That's insane. The placenta contains oxytocin, which causes the uterus to contract. Obstetricians often give mothers the synthetic form of this hormone, pitocin for the same purpose. I have spoken to a number of my friends who have ingested the placenta, and most of them have reported positive effects. Some have ingested in other forms, putting pieces of it into a smoothie or in gel caps. Oh my God. So my question is to you. Is it permissible according to the halakha to eat placenta by chewing it and spitting it out or even swallowing it? I find the idea repulsive, but if I decide that I'm willing to do it, may I do so according to halakha? So fucking disgusting. Thank you for your question. May the birth be free of complications. This case raises a number of important questions. The important questions like, is the placenta kosher? That's the question I'm fucking asking. Or should it be seen as some type of non-kosher meat or byproduct of a non-kosher animal, a human being? Holy shit. Is there a concern of the merit ayin, that it will look like you're eating something forbidden, even if it is kosher? Can one eat something they find repulsive, or is this a violation of weird letters? I don't know what it says. The prohibition to do acts that cause disgust or repulsion. You're not supposed to do things that disgust you in the J religion. That's pretty interesting. So that's crazy considering, cutting and sucking penises is okay. According to the Jays, the most important thing that they do as a people, like if they move to a new area, before they even build the temple for worship, they build what's called a mikvah. And a mikvah is a special bath of collected water. It's not like fresh water. It's collected rainwater or whatever that doesn't get replenished very often. That the women in the religion, in the cult, once a month after they're done, so they go through, when J women go through menstruation, they're considered just disgusting. Like if the wife says, "Can you hand me a spoon?" If she even has the balls to say it, the husband will take the spoon, place it on the table, and then the wife has to pick it up from there. She's so disgusting that they don't touch, they don't do anything because, she's menstruating. After she thinks she's done menstruating, she goes to this special mikvah where she is examined to see if she's still bleeding. If there's any blood, she has to wait a while, a week or whatever, and come back. If there's no blood, she then has to immerse herself into this nasty fucking collection water so she can be cleaned inside and out. And then she can run home to have sex with her husband because her husband is going to finally find her attractive now that she's clean enough. That's why they supposedly wait 7 days after the baby's born, or 8 days. 7 days, what? No. 7 days of purification, and then on the 8th day is when, they do the circumcision because the moil's not going to touch that filthy child in the first 7 days. One important note before we begin our analysis for the purpose of this tesh, consider the chewing or ingesting of a placenta to constitute a practice done for health purposes. We take no opinion as to whether this practice does in fact have any health value. The point is to determine whether halal permits this act when it is being done with health purposes in mind, and we leave it to others to decide if doing so is a wise health practice. Number one, is the placenta kosher? The placenta is an organ attached to the lining of the uterus during pregnancy, which provides oxygen and nutrients to the growing fetus. The Hebrew term for the placenta is shilya. Halakha deals extensively with both human and animal placenta. Eating the placenta of an animal is dealt with is dealt with explicitly in the Mishnah. One who slaughters an animal and finds a placenta in the uterus, a person who is not fastidious may eat it. Consumption of a human placenta is not discussed. Presumably, such a practice was unknown or rare in the J community during Talmudic times. So then, how did that come to exist? How did at some point they were like, hey, you know that afterbirth? Why don't you chew it, bitch? It's good for you. In general, the Talmud only briefly addresses the issue of eating human flesh or its byproducts, probably because such cases were uncommon and were likely viewed as morally or aesthetically repulsive. It may be for this reason that the Talmud and Tanaitic sources which address the kashrut status of human flesh, blood, or fat refer to humans as bipeds and not as humans, allowing a distance from this phenomenon, a distancing. Over the centuries, halachic questions regarding the use of human flesh or human byproducts concerned its use for medical remedies, folk remedies, or sugalat, protective charms or rituals. Examples include ingesting embalmed or mummified flesh used as a standard medicinal ingredient. Ugh. Mumia? Ugh. They were eating mummified flesh. Wearing belts from human skin or burning human teeth as a type of medical secula. These are disgusting fucking people. That's why you hear those fake ass Holocaust stories where that woman's like, and my skin was so perfect that she wanted to make gloves and a lampshade from my skin. The only people doing that shit are these fucking weirdos. Swallowing the foreskin removed at Brit Milah as a segula to treat infertility or to have male children. That is a thing! I fucking knew it. Ingesting breast milk to cure a wide range of ailments. Drinking urine to cure various illnesses. Burying the placenta as a charm for keeping the newborn warm. And eating the placenta as a cure for infertility. Holy shit. Is human flesh kosher? Hachalach does not classify human beings as animals. If it did, they would be non-kosher, as they do not have split hooves or chew their cud. As humans are who came up with that? They're kosher if they have split hooves or if they chew their cud. That makes them kosher. Who came up with that shit? As humans are not included in the Torah's prohibitions against eating non-kosher animals, it would follow that there should be no prohibition against eating flesh taken from a living being. This is the position taken by most Rishonim, including Ravad on Rambam, Tosafot, Rosh and Rashba qualify this as the state that there would be a mitzvah prosh, a rabbinic requirement to separate oneself from this, either because it is repulsive. This seems to be the point of Rashba, or because of concerns of merit ayin, which would look like one is eating non-kosher meat. In contrast to these more lenient prohibitions, Rambam rules that while human beings are not kosher, they are also, while human beings are not non-kosher, they are also not kosher. One who eats human flesh transgresses the positive biblical mitzvah. These are the animals you shall eat, which is understood to mean the only meat you may eat is meat which is categorized as kosher. Shulchan Aruch does not rule on this matter, but Rima rules like Rambam that it is biblically forbidden to eat human flesh. Although many poskim adopt Rima's strict ruling, other poskim continue to treat the matter as unresolved or even rule like Rishoim is a piece of flesh. Nonetheless, it is in a different halachic category. It is not part of the human body, but something that is produced by and comes from the human body. Halachically, this is referred to as yotzi min, coming from non-kosher animal. The general principle is that yotzi min, whatever, that I don't even know that it's more Yiddish bullshit. That comes from or is produced by a non-kosher animal is not kosher. That which comes from or is produced by a kosher animal is kosher. This is why pig milk is not kosher while cow's milk is kosher. In regards to humans, the Talmud is clear. What is produced by the human body is kosher for consumption. Well, the Talmud is their book, so that's the end all. What is produced by the human body is kosher for consumption. Piss, shit, all of it. In addition to breast milk, this includes blood, which is why it is permitted for a person to suck the blood from bleeding gums or from a bleeding finger. The Talmud does not forbid one to eat human blood that has separated from the body. For example, if some dripped on a person's food because of maritz ayin, it would look as if he were eating animal blood. Why would they ever be dripping their blood onto food? Even Rambam, who states that human flesh is biblically permitted, would permit the consumption of byproducts of the human body. Byproducts of the human body are permitted either because the rabbis have determined that they are an exception to the Yotzim Mibibebe rule, or because they do not fall under this rule at all, as the human flesh is prohibited only based on a positive mitzvah and not a negative prohibition. Said in another way, although a human is not not in the kosher category, he or she is not in the non-kosher category, and the principle of Yotzi Milede does not apply. And consequently, the placenta, a byproduct of the body, would not be considered a forbidden food, even for Rambam, who states that flesh from the human is biblically forbidden. In fact, a number of Talmudic sources state that the shilya is generally not consumed and a mere secretion. Some Rishonim took this to indicate that even the placenta of a non-kosher animal would not be forbidden. Thus, no prohibition applies to eating human placenta. Wow. All of this to address the case where one is actually swallowing some of the placenta. In a case where a person will be chewing it and spitting it out, the question of the kashrut of the placenta is mostly moot, as one will not actually be ingesting the placenta itself, just the juices and shit. The only real question would be the permissibility of ingesting the blood of the placenta. As mentioned earlier, although human blood is not forbidden per se, it may present problems of marit ayin, or ayin. We address this in our discussion of marit ayin below. Even if the placenta is kosher, should one avoid eating it because of marit ayin, the appearance of doing something forbidden? If one were to chew the placenta, it may look like she is eating non-kosher meat or animal blood, as the placenta is very bloody. Although this would most likely be done in private, in a hospital or a birthing room, marit ayin remains a problem even when the act is done in private. Marit ayin is not a concern for three reasons. One, while it does not matter who is seeing the act, even in private, it does not matter how the act appears to an observer. When an observer would not assume that the person is doing a prohibited act, there is no concern for marit ayin. The context here makes it clear that this is the eating of placenta and not animal meat or blood, and there would be no merit ayin. Concerns for merit ayin are put aside, that's number 2, for someone who is ill or when something is being eaten for a health concern. Since halacha categories a woman immediately after birth as a hola something negative, and within 30 days after childbirth as another something negative, Marit Ayin would not be a concern in this case. I wish I knew what that shit meant. Let's see. Let's just see. We will translate. No information is available. Oh, fuck. I gotta go find this shit back again. All right. So I tried to translate what that shit meant, and it said nothing. Number 3, in addition, there are opinions that merit ayin only applies in cases L explicitly identified. While standard concerns for merit ayin do not apply in this case, the ingesting of blood on the surface of the placenta, if any exists, may present a separate problem. We have already mentioned that human blood that is separated from the body is forbidden based on the concern of merit ayin. No, you didn't. According to some poskim, this restriction is like any other merit ayin concern and would not apply when the context is clear, as it is in this case. However, other poskim understand that there is a categorical rabbinic restriction against eating human blood that is separated from the body. According to this latter approach, it would be forbidden to eat the blood on the surface of the placenta, even in the cases where it was that the blood was from the placenta and not from an animal. One should therefore be careful to wash off any surface blood from the placenta to avoid this problem. Again, why would animal blood be in the picture? We have thus seen that eating or chewing the placenta once it has been washed of surface blood presents neither a problem of kashrut or a general one of merit ayin. The one remaining concern that must be addressed is that of Bel Tishkazuk. Bel Tishakazu. After prohibiting us from eating various rodents, insects, and reptiles, the Torah states, "You shall not make yourself abominable with any creeping thing that creeps, neither shall you make yourself unclean with them, that you should be defiled thereby." The straightforward application of this verse is to prohibit the eating of any type of creeping thing. The rabbis, however, used the verse to prohibit the eating of anything that is repulsive, a prohibition known as Bel Tishkazu. Rishoim and Paskim debate whether this is to be understood as a biblical or rabbinic prohibition, with the general consensus that it is a rabbinic one. This prohibition of Bel Tishkazu is applied primarily to the eating of repulsive things, reflecting the original context of the verse, which prohibited certain things from being eaten. Listen to the way they just double talk. It's so stupid. Like, this whole thing could be half the length if they just said what they needed to say. Thus, the Talmud prohibits the eating of live kosher grasshoppers and drinking water from a vessel used for bloodletting. And Rishoim prohibits the eating of foods that have fecal matter in them, and the drinking of urine, and even eating with dirty hands. Let's take a moment to explore the scope of this prohibition more fully. This prohibition is also extended by the Gemara to prohibit holding oneself back from urinating when the need is urgent. If you gotta pee, you pee. Doesn't matter where you are. Although this is not the ingesting of something repugnant to one's body, it is keeping something repugnant in one's body, accompanied by physical discomfort. While this extends the prohibition by the act of eating, the prohibition would still be limited to mistreatment of one's body by bringing the body directly in contact with something that causes repulsion. So, for example, it is possible that Baal Tish Kazoo would prohibit one spreading feces on his body, but would not prohibit one from being a tanner who makes regular use of feces, even if one were to find such activities repulsive. Our ability to extend the prohibition of Baal Tish Kazoo beyond the act of eating might hinge on how we define the word nafshati kohim, yourselves, in the verse, you shall not abominate yourselves. Does this word connotate a the appetitive dimension of the person and is limited to the act of eating? B, the life force of the person, including all functions that sustain life, such as the excretory functions. Or C, the person's body extending to the case of external contact. This range can be seen in the different meanings of the phrase afflict yourselves regarding Yom Kippur. The narrow meaning of this phrase prohibits eating and drinking, meaning A, but the extended meaning includes all forms of bodily pleasure, including bathing, anointing, and sex, meaning C. It seems that the rabbis applied the primary scope of the prohibition of Baal Tisha Kazoo to the act of eating, meaning A, but also extending it to the excretory functions, meaning B. Whether or not it would apply to how one treats one's body in general, C, is open for debate. Let us now return to the matter at hand, which is the prohibition applied to consuming placenta. There are two reasons why it would not. One, whether or not the eating is repulsive is determined subjectively based on the person who is doing the eating. And two, the prohibition does not apply when eating is being done for health purposes. Let's look at these two reasons more closely. Fuck, I don't even care anymore. Let's see. Conclusion. It is permissible to eat or to chew and spit out the placenta after birth, especially when done for health purposes. The placenta of a human is kosher, as are all byproducts of the human body. There is no problem of merit ayin, as this is being done for health purposes and the context is clear. However, blood on the surface of the placenta may represent an independent problem that would need to be washed off. Blood inside, it's fine. Finally, the prohibition of Baal Tish Kazoo is not applicable if you do not find it repulsive. Even if you do find it so, the prohibition does not apply since this eating is being done for health purposes. Addendum. A possible objection to the... Jesus Christ. Man, this is just gross. Wow. Do Jews eat foreskin after circumcision? When a baby is circumcised, mitzvah, it's called mitzitza bapen, mitzitza bapen. Direct oral suctioning. When a baby is circumcised, some ritual Jewish circumcisers, moyim, do a practice called mitzitza bapen. Bapen. I don't know how to say that. Bapen. I don't even know. B-P-E-H. Bit. Mitzitza bit. Mitzitza bit is when the moil uses their mouth to suck away from the baby's circumcision wound. Suck blood away from the baby's circumcision wound as part of the circumcision ritual. After mitzitza peh, some babies can get an infection. Ugh. Public health experts have found that bit can put babies at risk of getting a harmful virus called herpes simplex virus type 1 or HSV1. Some of these babies become seriously ill, some developed brain damage, and others have died. There is no proven way to eliminate the risk of HSV1 infection from direct oral suction, though there are options to reduce the risk. I can think of one. How about you don't do it anymore? Many adults carry HS1V in their bodies. They may have no symptoms or only mild symptoms such as cold sores. Unlike adults, babies are too young to fight the virus. When a baby gets the virus, they could have brain damage, develop a lifelong disability, or in some cases die. A baby can get the virus when the moiled saliva gets on the baby's skin and the circumcised wound. If a moil does mitzitzape, even for just a moment, there is no way to avoid the risk. Even if the moil has no symptoms or obvious signs of HSV1, such as cold sores near their mouth, they could still have the virus and not know it. So even if it's just for a moment, meaning it's usually not for a moment, like how long are they sucking on that? This is fucking insane. Good, Julie, don't. Understand. Like, look, Julie. Think of what I'm reading you and think of what I'm telling you and think of your reaction to it, right? Your reaction to it is a pretty standard one. You know, most of us are like, what the fuck? This is disgusting. Blah, 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 blah. This shit needs to stop immediately. Immediately. This shit needs to stop. So who in the motherfuck would be here trying to get you to stop watching, trying to get me to stop talking, trying to interfere with this feed other than these disgusting fucking people? Nobody but these people would be like, no, that's cool. Don't worry. You know what? Hey, just stop talking about it. That's terrible. Don't talk about it. It's worse that you're talking about it than what actually happens. Who's going to say that shit? Just like who's gonna protect the Talmud that says that if a goyim were to rape a child 3 years and 1 day old, they should be put to death. However, if one of them rapes a child 3 years and 1 day old, as long as she's 3 years and 1 day old, that's the limit. Now we don't want to be disgusting. That child, even if it's a goyim, now belongs to the J, sort of like marriage, but much more of like a piece of property. And the only restriction or the only punishment, I don't even know, is that they have to pay the full dowry that the parents are asking. Once they rape that child, now they have to pay the dowry. And that's that. Now the child, instead of growing up in the household, now it belongs to the guy that raped it. That's the Talmud. That's what we're reading here. So you ask yourself, who's going to hear these things and instead of resisting and telling them to stop and all that, they tell me to stop. Who's not going to hear this and go, look, dude, we might disagree on this, that, and the other, but you seem right on about this protecting the children thing, so I'm going to support. And why would anyone attack you for watching? Have you ever had that happen before? You ever been watching a feed and been attacked for watching the feed? Had them start calling you, had them start calling your family members and shit? Well, when that happens, understand why that's happening. If you've never seen it before or experienced it before, it's probably because you stumbled across something that, you know, they don't like very much. I am so proud of myself to hate these people. I hate them. I hate what they do. I hate their crazy belief structure. I hate the genocide. I hate everything about this belief structure, this cult. And at the same time, any one of those cult members who says, you know what, I agree with you, dude. This shit is crazy. I can't believe I happen to be born into this. And I don't support any of it. Dude, you are like a king in my world. Especially since I never meet you guys. I never meet any XJs because nobody's willing to give up the opportunity and advancement that they get from being a J in order to call out this horrible shit. If a moil does mitzvah, oh, we already did that. A baby's immune system is not mature enough to fight infection. HSV1 is a serious risk for babies. If infected, babies will need to be hospitalized for at least 2 weeks of intravenous medication to fight the infection. Even with treatment, the infection could result in lifelong disability and the babies could even die. Some religious, this is alternatives. Some religious authorities consider direct oral suction the only acceptable way to draw blood away from the circumcision cut. I ask you guys this all the time. People hate if they are scared. But they're not, it's not that they're scared of me. And what they want is to hate you and make you hate me. They're going to attack you and attack your family and what, so that you don't think it's worth it to watch me anymore. Because they know they can attack anything I'm saying. Everything I'm saying is true. I'm reading what they want me to read. You know, it's people attack out of stupidity and fear. If they, believe me, all these people talking shit, if I screw up my math or a date or something like that, they're going to jump all over it because they hear what I'm saying. They're looking for all the rules. They're looking for all the holes. They're looking for where I fuck up so they can jump in and correct me. The fact they don't correct me or anything like that when it comes to any of this shit shows you exactly who's here. But other religious authorities within the J faith approve different means. For example, a rubber bulb. Right. Lots of other ways to fucking take the blood away. Before to the bris, talk to the moil and your doctor. Before you hire a moil, ask if they do mitzvah. If you don't want mitzvah, tell the moil not to do it. They are required to respect your wishes. If you decide to include mitzvah during your baby's bris, take the following steps. Talk with your baby's doctor about mitzvah. Before you hire a moil at the bris, ask if they have tested positive for herpes or if they have received an order from the Commissioner of Health to not perform mitzvah. Almost. If a moil answers yes to either of those questions, you should not hire that moil. Yeah, no shit. If they've been ordered not to do it and they're still doing it, how is it not a crime? How is any of this not a crime? Talk to the moil and make sure they rinse their mouth with mouthwash. Listerine Original Gold with 26.9% alcohol for at least 30 seconds immediately before performing mitzvah. This is just fucking disgusting. This is fucking disgusting. Circumcision is a procedure that removes the foreskin of the penis. It is often done in hospital nurseries on newborns who are assigned male at birth. Circumcision is also done as religious rituals such as the J bris. People get circumcised to treat certain conditions. This includes when the foreskin cannot be pulled back, when the skin covering the head of the penis is red and sore, when there is a cancer diagnosis. Jesus Christ. Love and hate are on the spectrum, one like God and the devil. No. Love and hate are words. So actually, I hate to admit it, but David Icke, see, all these guys, they actually have, even if they're distractions, even if they're whatever, controlled opposition, they still have reasonable things you can pick up from them. And David Icke once said that the way we speak is actually a form of telepathy, right? Because what's basically happened is everybody who is an English speaker has agreed that these clicks and whistles that I'm making right now mean the words that we're saying, have the meaning that I'm saying. So when I say lighter, we've all agreed that that's what lighter means. However, in countries where they don't speak English, they hear just like we do when we hear other people fucking talking, right? So something like love or hate are these four-letter clicks and whistles that we've been told mean this huge range of emotions. Oh, I just love the show Lost. What about your kids? You love, oh, I love my kids. I love my dogs. I love broccoli. I love ice cream. People say that shit all the time. Same thing with hate. Oh, I hate broccoli. Oh, I hate this and that. And then one of the things they tell you all the time is that hate is too strong a word. My grandma used to say that to me all the time. Hate is too, don't say you hate things. How are you going to tell me not to hate pedos? What word should I use then? How are you going to tell me not to hate these disgusting piece of shit Jays? Right? It's all stupid. They've literally tricked us every way possible. And it's all, again, to distract us so we don't look into this shit. Imagine if everybody was looking into shit like this, like I am. Healthcare providers use pain medication when they perform circumcisions. No, they don't. Side effects include bleeding, infection, and swelling. Overall, circumcision is a simple procedure. Complications are rare. Bullshit. 50% of the circumcisions we had done were fucked up. They fucked it up. There is new evidence that circumcision offers health benefits. The foreskin can trap HIV, oh my God, as well as other bacteria and viruses that can cause sexually transmitted infections, STIs, and other infections. Circumcision can make sex safer and help prevent HIV and STIs. Bullshit. Do you actually believe that? It can trap the HIV. Do you know how stupid that is? (2000) Health Alert number 2, 2004, new case of neonatal herpes infection following ritual Jewish circumcision. 2013 was Health Alert 1, 2013 was Health Alert number 7, 2014 was Health Alert number 2. So are we saying that only those 2 years this is happening, or did they just stop reporting it? Orthodox Jays criticized over circumcision practice. Representatives from the New York City's Health Department and mental hygiene and representatives of ultra-Orthodox Jays are meeting this week to try to resolve a controversy over the ancient circumcision practice called mitzitzabet, suction by mouth. Come on, guys. I don't even need to keep going. Like, when do we just, come on. The same people that are committing genocide right now have the Samson option, which says they will commit genocide against the rest of us if their country is ever invaded and or destroyed. I mean, if it's destroyed, they're not really going to be doing that, are they? You know? We're not talking about a race of people. We're talking about a choice. You can't choose to be black. I know a lot of white kids have been conditioned that to be black means you got to be an idiot because, you know, they're not trying to be black when they're you know, wearing suits and ties and shit. They're trying to be black when they act like fucking clowns. But no matter how much you want to convert or think whatever, you're always going to be white. You can't be black. When it comes to Jays, you don't have to be that shit. Hate is adjacent to anger, and that hate uses anger to extreme and what are you talking about? Again, please tell me why I shouldn't hate pedos. I'm not angry. Like, I have anger and hatred towards them, but I'm not walking around angry. I don't know. I am pretty angry, actually. I am pretty angry that so much pedo stuff exists, especially in the churches and the religions and the Hollywood and basically everything that Jays control. Full of fucking pedophilia. So if you think that's okay, then I guess that's okay for you and you should probably die too. Nobody brought chomos up. You understand this is my feed and I talk about what I want to talk about? But because you're too stupid to follow along, you don't really understand that, you know, when you're talking about people not hating things, I'd love to know why I shouldn't hate pedos, why I shouldn't hate the Jays. I'm so proud of my hatred, so proud of my anti-Semitism. By all means, please tell me why I shouldn't. Talk about the Black Jays. Okay, big distraction. End of conversation. You know, the only reason any of us knew what Kanye said or what Kyrie posted or the name of that movie or what is because the J media told us to care. None of us follow Kanye. None of us give a shit. While they were doing that, while everybody was distracted and learning the rules, they were putting Netanyahu, Bezalel Smotrich, Itmar Ben-Gvir, Avi Moaz, and the rest of those fucking disgusting supremacists in power. And we were all distracted by Kanye, and we were learning the rules. Kanye said, I could say anything I want about the Jays. One. Kanye said that I'm Jay, I'm Semitic. I can say, you know, that's like 1A, 1B. He said that everyone in Hollywood entertainment has Jays in their contract, so Jays make money off of everybody, even though they don't do anything. And he made a vague, stupid threat. I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jays. And that was as they were putting Netanyahu in power and they were gearing up to do the genocide and all that, they were telling us, look what we did to the guy. We took $2 billion away from this guy. He's going to sue. He's going to sue us. He's going to kill himself. You know, he's going to do that. And I was like, no, he's doing his job. He's doing what he's told to do. And the reality is, if you look at what Kanye said, he didn't name any Jays. He talked about black people. LeBron, Michael Jordan, Shaquille, Jay-Z, Beyonce. He just mentioned a bunch of people. Everybody who's already in the know knows. He didn't throw any Jays under the bus. And they put, you know, Netanyahu and all those pieces of shit in office while they were doing that. And Kanye was supposed to be the example to someone like me who says things and who does things. Kyrie was the example to you guys. People who watch and maybe share the video, share the link, do all that. Because all Kyrie did was share a link. He didn't say go watch it. He didn't even include the title. The title was from Hebrew to Negro, how blacks were the original Jays. All he did was share a link. So that's the warning to you guys. And then Dave Chappelle just happened to be the host of Saturday Night Live that week. And he, in case you missed it, explained it all to you. First thing he says is, I've been in Hollywood for a long time. And there are two words that you never say and anything good comes from it. And that's the and Jays. He started off by reading a little note saying, I love my J people. I support everything you do. This is just jokes. Please don't take my money. And he did this whole opening monologue that just knocked everyone dead, except for one joke, not even a joke, one statement where he said, you know, everything that is happening, J people, the one thing they can't do is blame blacks for what happened to them. And the crowd went dead silent. And then Dave was like, and somebody went, yeah. And Dave went, yeah, he gets it. And then everybody went, ah. So Dave told us the rules about Kanye and Kyrie, told us that Trump was going to win the next election, you know, told us it was going to happen. And made his pledge. And, the whole story just went away. But we learned the rules. And then when they released the Epstein list, because everything is about Epstein, Maxwell, those are Israeli high-ranking Israeli Mossad agents. Epstein was Mossad. Epstein was a high-ranking secret Israeli operative. And he was given the Maxwell fortune because Maxwell was a high-ranking Israeli operative. Do you know that Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, was a British media mogul? Wasn't even from Israel. He was a J, but he was supposedly from Yugoslavia. Had like 5 different identities growing up. Of course, he grew up in the J ghettos, and he was so poor that him and his sister had to share shoes. But all of his family was killed in the Holocaust, so you can't go verify any of this stuff. And he became a British mogul. So somehow, clawing and scratching his way to the top, he just became one of the most powerful people in British media. And he's actually directly responsible for Israel's creation, because if not for Maxwell smuggling in plane parts and in jets and stuff, Israel wouldn't have had an air force to be able to be dominant with. When Maxwell died under mysterious causes, he was a British citizen. He was given the largest Israeli military funeral, the highest ranking Israeli military funeral one can be given, with 6 different prime ministers there that all gave eulogies and whatnot. One saying, "It cannot be stated today how much this man has done for Israel." British media mogul, high-ranking Israeli military funeral. That was Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Now, for those of you that think that whole situation is Epstein, Ghislaine was the handler. Epstein was the product. Epstein was the scapegoat. But Ghislaine was his handler. Ghislaine was the one in charge. Good old Ghislaine. Right? But it's all Israeli. It really is. All of the answers, all of the, Mel Gibson lost his career for a long time because he said the truth. And he said the truth randomly getting pulled over and drunkenly, sprouting off. How did that get to the news? Why do we all know about it? Because they wanted us to. When the Epstein list was released, even though it was like 1,000 papers all scrambled, there was no list made, anything. After about a week, when everybody was like, hey, this isn't a fucking list, where's the actual list? And really, where's all the tapes? Because they admitted that when they raided the Epstein residences, the 3 residences, they were all, had a secret command center that had the most state-of-the-art security system, both audio and visual, for every room. Everything was always recorded. And each command center in the middle of the house, secret command center, had a safe in it. In each safe had flash drives, videotapes, and DVDs with the name of the famous person, the name of the victim, and how old they were. They found all that shit. And we were like, hey, fuck that list. Why don't you tell us where the tapes are? And when we started saying that, Cat Williams came out of nowhere. Told us to focus on black people again. Steve Harvey and whatnot. The only J's he mentioned were Epstein, dead guy, and Weinstein, a guy who at the time was in trouble. He had when he had a Goyim judge, he was given the 25 years and blah blah blah. His shit was retried by a J and everything was overturned. Interesting how that works. But like this is it's right here. It's right here. This whole Ghislaine Maxwell, all of it. It's all Israeli. Our government is full of dual Israeli citizens for a reason. We literally should have no association with Israel. Why should we care? They don't help us. They're our biggest ally. If anybody wants to tell me how Israel has helped the United States in the last fucking 50 years, I'd love to hear it. I can bring up the USS Liberty. I can bring up a ton of different times when they were either disrespectful or whatever. Tell me when they helped us. But Cat Williams came out, got everybody focused on black people again. And then suddenly, Diddy comes out. The whole Diddy story comes out. And everybody's focused on black people like Diddy isn't doing what Jays are and have been doing the entire time throughout Hollywood. Like Jays didn't give Diddy the career he had and allow him to be that person. All the people that were at Diddy parties, why aren't they being all outed? All the high-ranking Jays. You'll never hear any of it. What gaslighting? Again, Julie, I don't know why you're even... These are bots you're arguing with. So you just don't realize it yet. Team Jorge, Jorge, Israel. Now, you know it right in the name. If I say it's Team Jorge, most of you are going to think it's Mexican or something like that. They're already distracting you with the name. Team Jorge. Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. Meaning, if they have the ability to manipulate elections, then fucking with some doofus's YouTube page isn't hard at all. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The group was exposed in 2023, February, after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists coordinated by Forbidden Stories. The operation has been active since at least 2015 and boasts to have having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide, many of them in Africa, and 27 cases with successful results. They were a part of the Britannica, the Cambridge Analytica scandal, remember, from 2015. So Tal Hainan, the main operative, the main secret Israeli operative. These are black ops Israeli organizations. This is an organization that was exposed. It wasn't like it was disbanded. But this is just one black ops, Israeli black ops organization that boasts to having actually been in operation for at least 2 decades. But it's only since 2015 that they can find the paper trail. 15, when Trump won, and they claim that Russia interfered with the elections, though they've never shown you how. And supposedly he interfered to make Trump win, but Trump lost by 2.7 million votes and was put in office by the swamp of Jays that he said he was going to drain. So it's all just bullshit. But Tal Hainan, the guy's leader, boasts that they have 40,000 bots. In 2022, they had 40,000 bots at their disposal. They weren't disbanded, and they're just one of many. How many bot programs do you think there are that Israel has to come try to fucking interfere with things like this, where they don't actually debunk anything said? They just keep saying, stop talking about this. You're crazy. You're delusional. You're schizophrenic. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Anybody watching, stop watching. Stop watching. Why do you think that happens? How do you think that? Do you really think there are good red-blooded Americans on here trying to get somebody to stop talking about giving our American tax dollars to a foreign entity so they can commit genocide? Like, who's going to be opposed to that? Who's going to oppose stopping all of these pedophile practices and disgusting things that they do? How many red-blooded Americans are going to be opposed to that? These aren't real people that are talking to you. These are bots. These are Team Jorge bots. Go look into it. If you take anything from this feed, take Team Jorge, go look up Team Jorge, and go look up the Samson option. just so you guys understand, because you won't do it. This also happens to be one of those eBay or those Wikipedia pages that are all locked up. You can't edit it. The Samson option is Israel's deterrence strategy of massive retaliation with nuclear weapons as a last resort against the country whose military has invaded and or destroyed much of Israel. Commentators have also employed the term to blah, 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 blah. These are real things that exist. You should go look them up. You should go educate yourself because, again, if we ever want to fix the world, if we ever want to solve all the conspiracies and do all that shit, we need to cut the head of the monster off. All the other things are just tentacles. And they'll either grow back or they won't kill off the monster. We only kill the monster if we cut off its head. And the head is the J's. So, everybody on here, go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's music. It's free. All we ask is that you share with somebody else. I love these 30s cartoons that show a world that we don't recognize. Trying to be as realistic as possible. Go get your free download. There's also the link is in the description. There's also a link to the Facebook page in the description. A song called Putin Work. Go check it out. Go share. If you want to donate to the page, go right ahead, but you don't have to. All we ask is that you share it with someone. Everybody have a great day. Pedophiles, kill yourself.